pick it up.
Please let me know when you can see my
Yes, your screen is,
screen.
and if you don't mind, or if it's not too difficult, maybe make it a bit bigger.
Okay. Yeah, just for the benefit of those people that ask or add one or two issues with signing up for Entra Suite. If you check the spelling, you see it's SUITE, not SUIT. I will expect Microsoft also to actually still be able to find it even if I don't complete it. Unfortunately, you see, they said they couldn't find Microsoft Entra Suite, but if I put the E as it's meant to be, it's actually come out. So if you type it partially, they may not find it, but if you type it in full, Microsoft would be able to find it. I think that may have been the challenge. That said, I think this morning I'll perhaps love to start with I'll perhaps love to start with just the plan. I think it's okay for everyone to come to class with expectation, knowing what exactly will be covered. Knowing what exactly would be covered each day and each week. So this program has been structured. Just a moment. Where's the bar? So the program has been structured in such a way that help everyone actually read ahead of the class, and then we can just also focus on the key aspects of the program, which is more of the hands-on. We won't have to spend a lot of time. We won't have to spend a lot of time trying to explain concepts if we are already doing that. But if we don't, we may spend a considerable amount of time actually trying to clarify things. Trying to clarify things and all. So I would ask for an indulgence that we try as much as possible to plan ahead. And I think also we are currently moving too slowly, so which also would then have to change quickly. The expectation is for us to be able to actually complete these tasks in the next few weeks. And as you can see, what we've tried to do also is to actually give us a plan. The module will be covering in each week, and also for us to the module will be covering each week the exercise that we'll be doing, and then the group assignments that will also be completed at our various groups. And according to plan, currently you see that on Friday, on last week Saturday, we did an exploration of Microsoft Defender XDR, and we also talk about configuring Microsoft Defender XDR, which means we are in learning part 1. And as part of the learning, mitigating threats using Microsoft Defender XDR, if you look at the course content, we're meant to cover Defender for Office and also information protection components of of Entra, which was what we then have to speak about last week, Thursday. And also because it takes some times for the component to be ready when you subscribe, also for it, we are not able to also do that on the call, and that's one of the focus of today. But going forward, just like we did yesterday, we'll always be giving everyone what to subscribe to ahead so that we all have an environment ready ahead of each class. And also we can just briefly talk about what individual has read and also what the expectation is, just to help people who want to write the exam after this program. But we will not go into too much details, as that may actually rob us of the time to actually focus on hand-on, which will be the exciting part for people who look for the experience of where to get started in SOC, basically. And also around here, and the links are actually clickable, is for you also to actually see some of the exercises that you would be doing in each of the modules. And following the exercises, basically we would always have an assignment that will individual group would do. And the assignment is actually for you as a group to go and read more or do more of a research and then be able to present to us. And that will help you do two things. First is for you to be able to articulate your findings and also be able to talk. One of the key requirements for a SOC analyst, it's not for them to know their job also. The job requires them interfacing with other people, and it's for them to also build up the skill that help them interface with people and make what's it called, meaningful alliances where they need to. As a SOC analyst, you'll be working closely with the IT team in organization where you have specialty cut out. You'll be talking to the senior management and executives. And one of the things that you need to learn is how to present data to people. So the essence of the group assignment is actually for you within your group to be able to think that way, understand how reporting structure is done, and then for you to be able to present. So what we'll decide, because we have 4 groups now, what we'll do is on Saturday like this, you get an assignment that you work on as a group ahead of Thursday. And before we start a new module, individual team will have an opportunity to present and also to manage time and give people to be drilled as well. I think only 2 groups will be presenting a week. If 2 groups present this week, the other 2 group would know that they are presenting upper week, basically. So that will help us manage time and also allow other groups to ask questions on what the the alternate group has worked on, basically. So I don't know if there's any question. If there is any question or any clarity required, I'll be happy to quickly clarify before we move on into the tasks of today. Okay, so I believe the silence means that I was very clear enough. No concern, nothing. I can go ahead. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So we've already set up, every one of us already have, what's it called? Defender and the Entra suites. And now if you look at Defender, for me, I think last week we did subscribe to Microsoft Defender for Office, and that gave us some further capabilities beyond what we initially had here. One is attack simulation training, which focus on how to simulate attack for your individual organization. And message trace is always there, which help you to actually trace an email when issues happen and you want to find out. For instance, if someone had reported an email as being malicious and maybe it was not caught by your EOP, and I mean EOP, by EOP I mean Defender for Office. EOP is a component of Defender for Office, so it was not caught by Defender for Office, and you need to find different people who have been impacted by it or whose mail it has delivered to. You can always use a message trace to do that. And also you have campaign here where you can actually create a training program and send it to all of the people in your company. If you need to create a campaign, you can always create a campaign, and you can always do a review as well. You can do you can explore threats for all email, for malware, for phish, for campaign, content malware, URL clicks, and all of those, and you can do investigation. So last week, I mean on Thursday, sorry, it's not last week yet. On Thursday, we spoke about how do we configure save attachments. We've already spoken about the prerequisites, what individual need to know before they get started. We said that licensing is key. And for you to have that, you need to have what is it called? Microsoft Defender for Office 365, which individual of us have actually signed up for. And we said whoever is going to complete this must have an appropriate permission, also must have a sufficient level of permission to be able to do that. And we said that you can configure it using a portal like we are, and it's also possible for you to configure it through Exchange Online PowerShell, but I'm not going to cover Exchange Online PowerShell. So you need to be assigned one of these roles. If you have RBAC turned on within Microsoft Defender Portal, you need to have XDR Unified Access Control role. If you have permission within Exchange Online, Exchange organization member have permission to do this. And if you have intra permissions like global administrator or security administrator as well, you can complete the task. And to get started, there are two ways. For a lot of things, you always have a direct link to it. For instance, if I need to configure save attachments, I can click on save attachments and I could go to email and collaboration and policies and rules, and then threat policies and save attachments, and then click on save attachments. So I've already clicked on save attachments and I'm in that portal. And you could see there is the default built in by Microsoft, which I think we can't load for whatever reason, I don't know. But it's always good to look at what Microsoft has in built in, if it is editable, for you to be able to actually see if it meets your requirements. And if it doesn't meet your requirements, you can always what's it called, create a new one. One thing I'll quickly like to turn your attention to, you probably see that I mentioned attachments and link, and we've been focusing on more of email as an entry. If I come to the save attachment policies here and I click on global setting, you see also that it's possible for me to turn on Defender for Office 365, for SharePoint, for OneDrive, for Microsoft Teams, and also to turn on save documents for Office clients, basically, and then to click save. Now, for what's the importance of doing this? The importance of turning on for Defender for Office 365 for SharePoint, for OneDrive, for Microsoft Teams is just to ensure that you can also protect documents in those locations. A lot of time you have your internal people probably even working on their own personal laptop, which may necessarily not be security proofed, and they may find a way, for instance, by logging into their emails on their personal system. They have access to OneDrive and maybe SharePoint, and they may directly actually upload those documents that have been created on a device that has not been protected into either SharePoint or OneDrive. So while you are focused by email, focusing on email as an entry point, there are also some entry points based on user behavior that just focusing on email channels may not cover. So turning on Defender for Office for SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams also ensure that Defender for Office can also protect those sources, and if malware or malicious URL, for instance, is detected, it can always be quarantined as expected. So if you follow the save attachment step by step, you see where to create a new policy, give it a name, and if you want, you can give it an optional description. For everything I create personally, and I think it's actually a good security thing to always put a description, because that helps you and maybe other people who are reviewing your setup later to understand the thought and the rationale, or possibly what that policy is doing. You can always select the users and the domain that you want the policy to apply, and what kind of response that you want, and also the what's it called, create the attachment policy, and if you want to redirect the email to what's it called, to your security team, if you have a dedicated email address for one. So basically what we're going to do now is to I'm talking about this because immediately I switch to configuring, we're going to have to do that ourselves. I'm not going to look at this link again, and I'm just going to put it in the chat for people who may just want to look at it much later. That's for save attachments. And sorry, that's for save attachments, and also you have for save links. Yeah, you also have for save links. So I'm going to put that in in the chat for us. Okay, so going back, sorry. So going back, according to the document, to get started with save attachments, I basically just need to, I can go by clicking on different links, going to the Defender, and then moving to emails and collaboration policies and threats, but I'm going to save time by just clicking on save attachments link directly from here. And that takes me to the Defender. Yep, so it's still loading up. Yeah. So basically, for people that went through this, you see so many other threat policies, and then you see so many what's it called? so many threat policy. I've clicked on here just to quickly talk about something. Now you see that if you look at policies, there are different policies that you can create. You can create an anti-phishing policy that protects user from phishing attack and also configure safety tips on suspicious messages. You can also create an anti-spam policies that protects your organization from unsolicited email that a lot of organizations tend to send today. You can create an anti-malware policies that protects your email from malware, including what action to take. You have save attachments, you have save link, and you also have some tenant rules that you can also set. For instance, when an email is coming from a domain that doesn't have or that has not been authenticated or include DKIM, for instance, how you want to treat it. If you have an email domain or maybe an email address that has been sending malicious content to your users, you have the rules, tenant allow or block list that you can create to actually block certain people. You see here, you can always put email address. If you can add an allow list and you can add a block list. If I click a block list, for instance, I have flexibility of setting here whether to expire or never expire. If I have a domain that has been sending us an email and the domain is let's say Google has been sending my client, Google has been sending my client my users an email, and I feel like Google should be blocked. They should not be able to send us an email because of whatever they are doing. I can put Google, but I also know that google.com is a public domain, right? And whoever is sending email, maybe it's the address that I need to block and not entire Google address. So what I can do is, if I have a particular email address, in case of a public domain, you don't want to block the entire domain and affect legitimate email, I can put maybe my email address and say block. But I'm just going to block this for 7 days so that in case I forget, so just for us to be able to test. Remove block after 7 days. Optional note, block for testing. So my what is it called should not be allowed. My email should be blocked from sending email basically to us. It's never used because I've never sent an email. Now, for spoof sender, sometimes someone within your organization may be spoofed. Spoofing means that someone is sending email on behalf or as someone in your organization, and it's not those individual. You can put the email address or maybe an iteration of the email address or the somebody that is being spoofed, and you can say what kind of the spoof type. Is it internal or external? If the person is being spoofed externally or internally. So if you put the email address of the person that is being spoofed, basically, what happens is EOP does a further check or iteration or permutation of the email address to actually ensure that those email address are being spoofed. And when any pattern is established that, okay, these are likely spoofing, EOP just block it. If you have certain URLs also that you want to ban, if someone send an email, for instance, maybe someone has started sending email to people in your team, and they are saying that, oh, for you, you need to click on certain link to get a reward or something. What we can do is, if you have those URL, you can always put it here, or maybe some of your I think recently you probably have all these loan company, people like Z fans, like I mean, we know all those loan company, Page Financial and Co, that will just be sending unsolicited email to to professionals, asking them to come and take out meaningless loans. So if you are concerned about that and you want to block something like that, if you have maybe like a link to those sign up page, you can always include them here and block it. One of the things that I'm going to do is just put CSMG 12345.com here, and we probably just also send an email including this as a link, and what was it called? Including this as a link, and then click on add. But one thing I also want to do, it's also possible if you look at this add URL with wildcards, you can also use a wildcard. A wildcard means that maybe instead of HTTP www that I put here before, you can have www.asm dot anything. You can have anything in front, but you don't know, or those things keep changing. You can use a wildcard. Just say star.csmg123456.com, but be sure never to use star.com or star.net or star. Something like that, because it just puts umbrella control over every domain that ends with maybe .com, and that may have unintended consequence, like you will know. So I'm just going to do this. If you have a particular file that you want to block, if you have the file hash, or maybe the file hash, you can compute the file hash and put it here. There are several ways for you to compute the file hash. You can use PowerShell to compute a file hash. Basically, if you have a file that you decided that this file is malicious and some people are getting it, or maybe some people are sending it. If you look at what's it called? You have a what they call advanced persistent threat group, APT threat groups. All of those threat groups, I think we'll maybe take a time to actually talk about APT. All of those threat groups always have a pattern, the way they work. One of the way they work may include actually delivery of some payload, which may include some file type into your system. I think in 2020 or 2021, there was the APT group that was dropping a file share on Exchange servers. And one of the way you identify whether you've been pawned is basically just checking if you have that file on your Exchange server. And how do you determine that? You can have same files with the same name. I mean, you can have different files having the same name, but because they contain the different contents, those files are not the same exactly. So what a file hash would do, if the content is exactly the same and you compute the file hash here or anywhere, the file hash is always going to be the same. So basically, one of the things you may want to do is actually to compute a file hash and then use the hash instead of using maybe a file name, because file name is not is not reliable. Different files may have different files may have same name but contain different content. So if I use a file name, I'll be having a wrong match. But if I compute an hash of a file, the hash will look at the content and generate a hash based on the file content. And if you have any other file that contain the exact content, the file hash is always going to be the same. And because of that, also you'll be able to compute a file. Compute a file, and then anytime anybody sends a file with that hash, you will always have a match. And I'm going to give you assignment today on the computation of file hash and also testing. So for IP address, if you have a particular IP address that is sending you an email and you want to block it, you can always block the IP address. For instance, okay, don't let me use the IP address that always comes to my mind. But if you have an IP address, you can always use it. Let's say we have 41.41.223.110, for instance. I can put a comma if needed, but I don't think I need a comma here. So I don't need up to add IPs, 20 marks, but you can always add one too if you have. Basically, and you can add an IP or you can use an IP range. An IP range will probably have something like a slash, or you have to supply a network mask with it, and that's an IP range. I don't have any IP we can use for testing, but that's just to make you aware of this as much as possible. That is just one thread through. So now going to save attachments. If you go to save attachments, we can create an attachment and we can create an attachment, I mean a policy name. I'm just going to call CSMG1 test save attachment policy. And the description, because I'm showing you, is demonstrating how to create save attachment policy, for instance, and I can click on next. Basically, this is user. If you which user do you want this to apply to? So you can put a user and you can put groups if you have a particular groups, and you can put a domain if you have a particular domain that you are interested in. Just a moment, just to quickly show something on the save attachment. Okay. Now, if you look under the save attachment rules, is it save attachments? Yep. Sorry, where am I? Okay. If you look at currently, we've created a save attachment name and policy, but we've not, how do we do a match? What are we matching exactly? I've always said that anytime you are creating a policy or making a setting in security setting or configuration changes, the first thing is what question or what issues are you trying to solve? And that's exactly what actually guide the configuration. And if you look here also, you see you can set include these users, groups, and domain. And what do you see here? And basically, so users, who are the users, who are the groups, and what is the domain? Now, if you look here, you see you can use multiple condition. You can use a condition only once, but the condition can contain multiple values. Multiple values of the same condition use or logic. For example, if you have recipient is this or recipient is that, if the recipient matches any of the specified value, the policy is applied to them. What that is telling you is that this policy actually match the recipient, not the sender. So for instance, if I want to cover all of the users in my organization, the users that I put in this scope must, I mean, whatever I put in this scope of the users must match all of the users. If I want to match all of the groups, I mean, if I want to match all of the users, I may also have to use a group here that capture all of the users. If I want to match all of my domains, I can put here what it matches all of my domain. And if I want to exclude maybe certain individual, certain group of users or certain domains for organizations that have multiple domains from these as well, I can do the exclusion. And you see different types of condition use and logic, and the recipient must match all of the specified condition for the policy to apply. For example, configure a condition with the following value. What's it called? This user, this executive, and the policy is applied to what's it called? Roaming only if he's a member of the executive group. Otherwise, the policy isn't applied to him. Now, what that means is, like I mentioned, I said when you see an and, that means the first condition, the second condition, and the third condition must match. But what is it called? Must all match. The first condition, the second condition, and the third condition. Now, I'm going to start from the domain. If you recall, my domain is actually called CSMG show all settings domains. You see what my domain is, csmg1.microsoft.com. And that's the default domain I get by registering these accounts. And because I don't have any, I mean, I have other domain I can use, but because I didn't register any other domain, that's the only one I have. For your organization, where you probably have your organization.com, your organization domain name.com, you probably have that. You can add additional domain here, and then you probably have that additional domain, which is probably what your client will be sending email to. But I'm not buying any domain and I'm not adding any domain. So I'm just going to use this as is. And in terms of groups, one of the things that I always love by default is all of your company. You see, by default, you have this group called All Company. So basically, if you want to capture all users in your company, you can use the all company where you have different people that you can add. But also you can create maybe a security group, and I'm just going to create a security group and say all staff, for instance, all staff group. And I've created it as a security group just to ensure that I can always use it for anything that I want. I just create a group, failed to add, just a moment. Add security group, all staff. I'm not going to waste time on description. Roles can be assigned. I'm not assigning any roles. Group type security, role assignment is disabled. Yeah, so all staff has been created. Now I've created all staff. What do I want to do? I can add the group owners. I always love to do this, especially if I'm not the one to manage it. In most organizations, anything that has to do with all staff, all employee are usually managed by HR. So I can always add someone in the HR to that and do this. And also if I want to also add members, which is actually where the juice of this one is for us, I'm going to click add all members and I'm adding everyone I've created in the domain. And I am going to say add all, and I can close basically. So one thing I'll have to mention here, one thing I'll have to mention here first is the fact that the default Microsoft, what is it called? Save attachments already covers all of your domain. But I'm also trying to create this for us, just in case you have a use case where you need to create something in addition to whatever Microsoft has created. And now my domain is csmg1.microsoft.com, so which is fine. Group is all, I think we created all staff. Okay, all staff is not showing yet. We have all company. I'm just going to use all company for now. And the user, I can use a test. Once you start typing, it will bring the user. So I'm going to use test user 2. And I can click on next. What are the things that I want to do for save attachment with unknown malware response? Basically, you can do a monitor and block action. Might cause a significant delay, and this is actually just telling you that when a message delivers, basically, if you use a monitor and block, Microsoft hold up the email or sometimes the attachment content until until what's it called? Until they've actually ascertained that it doesn't contain malware or they've cleaned it, if possible. So monitor and block will cause some delays. Then you have the action for dynamic delivery, which is only available for hosted mailboxes. In dynamic delivery, what happens is the mail may be delivered, but the attachment is held back until it's being quarantined and cleaned before you see it in your mailbox. You just have a note in your attachment with a note saying that your content is being scanned by Microsoft. So you can also block or dynamic delivery message with a detected attachment are quarantined and can be released only by admin. When the what's it called, message can also be held until an admin actually look at it and release it. So by default, if you have some people who are being impacted maybe by frequent scanning, for instance, maybe in an organization where you are receiving mail from a particular domain and you trust those individuals, and maybe your security tool has been flagging their emails as coming too often or whatever, you can always turn off the attachment scanning for those people. And if you want to monitor the message if malware is detected and track scanning results, you can set it at monitoring. If you want to block current and future message and attachment with detected malware, you can do a block and you can do a dynamic delivery. You see, the dynamic delivery immediately delivers the message without attachment, then reattach file after scanning is complete. So basically, this is what most organizations would prefer. People can always see that they have an email. If an attachment is attached, the attachment is held back until it is properly scanned and confirmed that it is safe. And also, if someone is expecting an email from a client, at least they know that the attachment is coming. And if it doesn't come in a good time, basically they can always speak to their security team to help them release the attachment if they trust the sender, basically. So I always prefer dynamic delivery myself. The quarantine policy, permission to release quarantine message will be ignored for messages with malware detected and we fall back to release request instead. So if a file is scanned and it is detected that it contains a malware, if a user go to say that release that file, the Microsoft Defender will not release it. It will hold the it will hold the file and only admin can actually release that. So you see another quarantine policy basically that you can what's it called? So you basically have different policies. You see default full access policies where employee can go ahead and release files themselves. You have admin only access policy where only admins can do the release of quarantined content. And then you have default full access with notification policy, which actually grants access to your users to be able to request release of an attachment, but with a notification to your security team. I think you need to find a balance between usability and control, but for most times you probably want to stay admin only, and you see that that was by default, or probably default full access with notification policy only. And then if you want to enable redirect, you see that it's only supported for monitor action. So basically, if you enabled redirect and we're using a monitor action, you can specify an email and configure the email to deliver the attachment to maybe your security team email address. But I think I love dynamic delivery, and I'm just going to click on next. Invalid redirection email. Sorry, I shouldn't check this. Next. And you can have a review. You see that for me, I have created this policy for test user 2. I have created for groups containing all company and the domain containing CSMG. Remember that this test user 2 is not a member of this group. So this policy will not work until I add user 2 to all company groups. And I'm going to just click on submit, complete the organization setup. I'm going to click yes, and I should be done. So basically that's how to create a save attachment policy. Please check the setting again. An error occur, please check the settings again. Policy name, no issues. CSMG, okay. Let it not be that Microsoft is validating ahead. So I'm going to go to all company, and then I'm going to add membership, add users, and I'm going to add other users. Test user 1, test user 2, and clicking save. Just going to refresh. Membership. Okay. So I was going to leave this on default, not for anything, just because I just wanted to leave it on default. Exception, Microsoft Exchange Management, PS, direct invoke was thrown. An error occurred when saving the policy. Please check the settings, okay? Okay. Now, Microsoft is, I think this is funny. I don't know if you see this saying that we are updating your organization to support customization. Please allow 24 hours to 48 hours before we set up this. What is it called? I think we set this up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, it's not up to 48 hours, but Microsoft sometimes takes some time. So basically, this is how to, I think what we just need to check, ensure that the user is included already in the group that we are in the group that we are using, and we can submit. I think I'm just going to leave this and then try to see if it submits later.
Yeah, I don't think I saw test user 2
Sorry?
I don't think I saw test user 2 in the user that you created.
Yes, it was not, but I've added the text user 2 into, I've added the test user 2 into the all group. I mean, all companies, sorry. If you check all company, you check membership and members, you see test. This is test user 2 actually. It's
Okay.
called test user.
Yeah.
You see the email address, yeah, test user 2. So it's included. I think the environment is still also not just fully set up because it's relatively new. But I think it should be able to save very soon. An error, client error, an error occurring saving the policy. Please check the policy setting and try again. I think what I can do, company, I'm going to refresh that and just try to save it again, but I'm not going to talk through it.
Yeah, coming. I want to
Yep.
find out if we can, once you complete this activity, we can take
A
some,
break.
but yeah,
Yeah.
time
Okay.
off,
That's,
then we can come back.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think this is Microsoft says they are still updating. I think you can just leave it for some minutes. But basically that's how to do the configuration. I think this may be difficult for us to test until they are done. Yep. Okay, I think we can go for the break, Wale. Hello, Wale?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking. We
Okay.
I'll pause the session now.
Yep.
Then we can come back in 10 minutes.
Yeah. So basically that's how to create a save attachment. So to create a save link, we follow the same approach. We click on save link, and also you see that what's it called? You have built-in, and if you want to check the built-in or the preset policy from Microsoft, you can always see the presets if you are so interested in seeing it. It is turned off currently. If you want to set a baseline to protect against spam, phishing, and malware threats, you can turn this on. And the same thing if you want to do aggressive profile for users such as high value target and priority users, you can always turn it on as well. But I'm not going to go into that. So now to create a what's it called, a save link, you follow the same approach, and then you create what's it called, you can save link, you can create the policy name as you want. Demonstrate how save link is configured, and then you can click on next. If you see that this filter also look exactly like before, group, I think we have a company domain, CSMG, and then you can click on next. And for email, you see on save link checks a list of non-malicious link when a user click links in an email. So when someone click a link in an email, what happen is Microsoft rewrite the URL just for them to be able to open it at their end in a safe place, and also check different reputation sites to see that that URL is not listed. If it is not listed, then they allow you to browse to it. If it is listed, they do not. Apply save links to messages sent within the organization. So if you want to apply a save link as well to message sent between employees, you can do it. If you want to apply real-time URL scanning for suspicious link and links that points to file, you can do it. If you want to wait for URL scanning to complete before delivering the message, you can do it. So if you have it in an email and it is detected, do you want the URL first to be scanned before the mail is delivered? So you can do that. Do not write URLs. Do not check via save link. Do not write URL. Do check via save link API only. It's possible for Microsoft to rewrite URL. It's possible for Microsoft to do a check of the URL using save link API. So basically, what that does is, sometimes they will tell you that if you receive an email, you can just put your cursor on the link to actually see the URL address. If you are doing a URL rewrite, this may confuse the user. And that's why sometimes you just do a save check via the save link API only. If you have particular emails that you do not want to rewrite, you can put it here. But obviously, because you've already set do not rewrite, we don't need to do this. But if you are doing URL rewrite and you have certain URL that you don't want to be rewrited, and this is on check, then you may need to configure URLs that should not be rewritten. This is for email. On Teams, yes, save links checks a list. So when people drop link also for you on Teams, you can also configure Teams also to do the URL check as well. Basically, when someone click on the link as well, malicious link are also checked through the save link API, but URLs are not rewritten. Office 365 apps, outside of the email, you may have links in Excel, you may have in PowerPoint and all. If you want it to be checked within those apps as well, you can always check it. Click protection settings, you can track users click. If you want, let user click through the original URL and display organization branding on notification and warning. If you want to do that, you can do that as well. And then you can click on next. How would you like to notify users? If you want to use default notification text, that's fine. If you have a custom message, you can put it, but I think default should be sufficient. You can always review the settings and then you can always click on submit. I think for the same reason why we could not submit, what's it called? Why we could not submit the save attachment, we couldn't submit this. So basically try to create a policy, leave it for, I think maybe 24 hours and try again. And I think that should be done. Now, how do I test? A lot of times when you are working on a policy like this or you are making security changes, I think earlier, I wanted to remember what we did earlier. Earlier we went into tenants allowed and block list, and I blocked this email from being able to send email directly to okay, I think this is not a valid email. So I'm going to select and click on edit. Okay, I can't change the email address, but I can delete it. I wanted to write gmail.com, not google.com. Yep, I wanted to write this up to regular confidence phishing, varied verdicts. Yeah, so basically that I may just, okay, I think I can use my phone. I'm just going to use this to send email to someone in the organization, and then we can see the research. And I think what I'm going to give you as an assignment is for you to be able to do the file hash. We have test user 1 and test user 2. So I'm sending email, sorry. Test user 1 at CSMG1.microsoft. Let's go. Test user 2 at CSMG2. Oh, sorry, CSMG1.microsoft. Let's go. Test allow block list. Just testing. Okay, I just sent some tests and I'm going to go incognito and then I'm going to send a mail, outlook.office365.com. we should know that I'm using Chrome to log in now and not I'm using Chrome to log in now and not my regular Tor browser because I'll be blocked. Test user one. I can't remember the password, so I have to reset. Test user one. Okay, reset password. Okay. For me to register an MFA, I'm going to get up. I'm going to quickly do that. Outlook.365.com. Mail. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I've logged on, but I've made a rookie mistake. I was going to block, but I allowed. So I'm going to have to delete this again. So the idea is to block all emails coming from Ayokumi. Okay, Ayokumi opens up or at gmail.com or Ayokumi maybe at gmail.com. And you can block it up to 7 days, and then I'm clicking on add. So basically, you see what I added to, it actually just create two different policies, and then the action item is to block. So I'm going to resend the email that I just sent again. Sent email. File. Sent. Yeah, so if I go to the incognito browser and I check, have I received any email? No, I've not received any email. I've not received any email because I have requested for that to be blocked. I received this when I said block, but instead actually I was allowing. And if we go back to Defender, how do I know if the mail was actually being blocked? Basically, I think there are two ways. First is you see the last use here. If I click on sync, and you can see that this one has been triggered, you see the last time used here, and you could see the date basically. I saw that there was a mail address, blah, 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 coming. And you can see that the last time that this was used was this date, meaning that an email came from this address, which has been blocked. And most time, if you want to do a detailed investigation, or you just want to be able to show in details that the mail was blocked, you can use Exchange Trace. When you click on Exchange Trace, it actually takes you to Exchange email server for you to do a trace, and you can actually see what happened to your email and why email is blocked. A lot of time, if you have configured many rules and you have an unexpected behavior where certain email are being blocked and you're not sure why or why they are being blocked, if you know the sender address, you can always pop in the sender address, for instance, at, I think I use at gmail.com. You can always use the sender address, for instance, and use that to actually check recipients. I just want to see all mails sent to everyone. And sorry, what did I do wrong? The email address, I open at gmail.com. At gmail.com. Recipient is all. I think I always prefer to use a slider. And I'll say last 6 hours. I'm not looking for anything else. Yeah. You can see the first one that I sent, which was, it shows both of them as delivered to test user 2 and test user 1. You can see the last one I sent, it shows that getting status. If I click on this and I try to, you see it was processed but not yet delivered. Sometimes I'm more interested in the event to actually see what happened. You can see that the email was received by the mail system. The mail was classified as spam and then deliver. You see, the message was successfully delivered to the quarantine old email secured. And why did this happen? The policy that we created here, saying that it has been included in our block list, is what marked the mail coming from me as what's it called? As a spam. If I go ahead into save URL, I think it's called save links v2. So if I go into save links and I remove the policy, if I resend the mail will start delivering. Is it opened? Yeah, so I can go ahead and delete these two. And if I go ahead again and then I try to send another email, reply all, and I just hit on send, the mail should start delivering again. So basically I can use the save email and address. You see that another email just came in now, and this is the one that I just sent now to actually just retest, and it just came in 8:30, I mean 9:31. It's showing 8:31 because I think I use UK time. Yeah, 8:31 a.m. basically. So that's good. That means it's the rule worked. I mean, I mentioned the spoof sender, I mentioned URL, I mentioned file hash. Now, just for the first and the second group to know what they are going to work on, I'm probably just going to show you how to calculate file hash and where you can download files which are not necessarily malicious but look malicious. I always love to use virus total for if I need to test maybe a URL, if a URL is safe, I use virus total to do that. And also, if you need to check file, or if you need to, sorry, just a moment. Okay, so I use virus total to test file if they are malicious or not. But if I want to get a file that I can use for testings, one of the good places to go car.org, and from icar.org, I think it requires you to register. It requires you to register, and then you are.
Is it the one you
Sorry?
want to download a
A
virus?
test file.
Yeah, you don't need to
I
register.
mean, just for people. Sorry?
You don't need to register. You can download the file, and
Okay,
I
you don't
think
need to
Defender
register.
will flag it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Why is it taking forever? Okay, I think it's faster now. Yep. Decline everything. So you see, download anti-malware. No, not anti-malware. I'm actually interested in the malware.
I think it's the same thing. I open it. Yeah, that link you click. Once you
Yeah.
click on it, it will take you down to sample files that you can download.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said I think it's that link that you click. Yeah, you clicked. That's a download anti-malware test
Okay.
file.
Direct link. Will you put it on the chat?
Okay, let me copy from my stuff. But if you click on that download anti-malware, I think it should take it lower to where you can download those files. But let me check my system. I've done the test before.
Okay. Okay. So you have different files. You can download a text file. You can download com2 zip file. So I'm just going to.
So coming from my own test, if you click on the text files, it will just open a web page and tell you that there's something like a virus also. But if you download if you try to, yeah, this zip now, okay. Why is your antivirus not picking it? Like my own system, my antivirus will not make it download.
Sorry, for me, I'm not using
Okay,
any
okay.
antivirus solution. I'm on a Mac. So basically, I'm just going to upload it here and let's see if Virus Total picks it up. Is it loading? Just far. Yeah, you see that to actually calculate if the file is malicious or not, you see what Virus Total is doing, checking the hash, right? So what Virus Total is also doing is actually checking the hash. Basically, the only way for antivirus systems or maybe malware catching system to identify a malicious file is through the hash checking. So I'll allow you guys to do a bit of research. You can download a file from the what's it called? You can download a file from icar.org, for instance, and then compute the file hash, and then use the file hash to create a policy, a block policy, and then test that your block policy is working by sending an email to yourself on your platform. Blocking, by sending the email to you on the form using the that you have downloaded and see if it actually gets delivered. So that would be the task for the group 1 and group 2. If you want me to clarify on that, please let me know on that tag. I'm going to put it in a document just to explain what you need to do. But if you want me to clarify, please let me know, and then I'll do any clarification. So the summary of what we have done today is actually to look at what we started last week about save links, save attachments, with respect to Defender for Office, and for us also to look at other ways you can actually block things, like maybe not by creating a file. If you have a known file or you have a known thread source that you want to block to protect your users, you can always create that. If you have the IP address, you can block. If you have a URL, you can block. If you have a file hash, you can put it there to actually deny or prevent certain files from being delivered to your users, basically. So that's what we covered today. So if you have any question, please let me know, and I would like to stop here. Thank you. Any
Right,
question?
thank you. Let me listen to questions. Some people may have questions, then we'll wrap up.
Okay. Good morning, our dear tutor and my fellow classmates. I permit you to draw you a little bit back to where you mentioned APT. I didn't know whether I don't get the part correctly, but maybe I'm having a connection issue at the time. I don't know if you can just run us through.
I think your internet is not clear. I'm not sure if it is me or it's the way that's this. I mean, I'm not sure if it's at my end or if every other person feels the same way.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, better now.
Yeah, thank you. I was talking about the place or the section where you mentioned APT. I don't know whether we'll not get to a point where we go deeper into it, because I've also come across it, but I was missing your explanation. I miss your explanation on regards to the advanced persistent threats. So I don't know if you can just run us through the parts again. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not part of the course, but I think I'll take time maybe to explain APT at a point. maybe when we get to the point of Sentinel, I'll explain APT. The reason why I mentioned APT, you have some threat groups, organized threat groups. So they call them advanced persistent threat groups. And they always go with different code names, right? You have APT, in fact, some of them just have APT 20 or APT 50 or APT 5 as their name. And each one of these APT groups always have the way that they work. If you go to MITRE, you'll be able to actually see the different APT groups, the way they work. You can see APT group 29 is a Chinese trade group, and they use spearfishing and watering hole. They use spearfishing and watering hole for them to perpetrate their attack. So basically, if you want to study the APT group ahead, I think I can send you these links on what's it called? On MITRE page, where you can actually look at the different APT and what they do. The reason why I mentioned them is sometimes when if you know that you are susceptible to a particular attack, or you play in a particular field that these APT groups are targeting, you may want to also armor your defense. And in armoring your defense, you will want to know how these APT groups work, how they operate, and then that will help you in actually building your defense, or maybe something to protect. Maybe for some of them that for what's it called, APT 29, for people that know supply chain attack, this is basically what they do. Okay, let me just look for an APT group I can use for instance. I think just a moment, I'm going to duplicate this. APT 20. But I explain APT details in Sentinel, because in Sentinels, you are creating a report for you to, you are probably creating rules for you to catch maybe attacks in your environment. And if you want to create a rule to catch any attack, the first thing is for you to actually know how the attack works in the instance. A suspicious process, you see for APT 20, the way they work is the execution of a file with a hash publicly reported as associated with a malicious file. So if I want to catch APT 20, one of the things that I need to find out is the hash. I've told you how hash are computed and how it is different for all files, depending on the content of the files. So for for APT 20, basically, they have a malicious file that they try to attribute and get the user to run. So if the user runs that file, they are able to maintain persistence to the user system. So how do you catch them? As a security admin, you want to find what's the hash, the file that they actually distribute, and which is usually made available by antivirus company, and then be able to compute or get the hash of the file. And if you have the hash of the file, you can create a rule that anytime anybody run anything in any file in your environment that has that hash, you want to be notified. Possibly you want to also that system being compromised until you've been able to print APT groups. Just know that as APT groups are cyber threat groups. Basically, their motive is always to compromise systems, compromise organizations, and each one of them have a modus operandi. They have the way they operate. And if you need to catch them as well, you need to understand the way they update. For APT 20, they operate by depositing malicious file and getting the user to execute it. If you want to catch them, you need to know the files. You need to be able to compute the hash of the file, and then you need to monitor your environment for the hash, and sometimes also put the hash in your block file. Any mail coming in, any web reputation coming in into, I mean, any file coming in into your environment that has that hash, you also just want to block it. You don't want to wait for it to be run. You want to block. And as well, if it is run in your environment as well, you want to be alerted to, you want to get an alert or get alerted to it. So basically, that's one way of mitigating that. But yeah, we'll talk about it in more details when we get to Sentinel. Hope that clarifies. Excel.
Perfectly well. Thank you very much.
Yes, Ruth, they did say it's just a caption, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those files are harmful. In fact, if you open the file, they just have some patterns that are questionable, but the file itself is not harmful. Yeah, Bami, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick one. You know, all these
Bami.
threat policies that we set or that you tested this morning. So are this policy,
Yeah.
are they going to prevent all this, for example, the safe attachment and the safe link? So are these going to prevent the emails? Because it sounds like it's not going to prevent the emails to get into the organization. It looks like it's get in and then do the prevention on the endpoint.
Yeah, so
is there a
in
way
answering
to
your
prevent
question,
this from getting in at all?
yeah, in answering your question, I'll refer you to the what's it called? I'll refer you to email architecture. Okay, I think just a quick one. A lot of time when you look at the email, I mean, for you to be able to answer questions around the email, and this is why I always encourage, if you need to secure any products, also try as much as possible to understand the product architecture itself. A lot of time when you send email to organizations, your system, I mean, you have an Outlook that your user will interact to, or maybe a web page that your user will interact to. Back end, that your Outlook and maybe web is connecting to a server somewhere. That server will need to have something behind it, more like a security tool. So anybody that sends email gets to your email edge first. After moving from your email edge, they get into your email server. For users to access the email, they will need to log in. OP actually sits on the email edge, basically. You saw that yeah, the email sits on the EOP edge and protects your email. So a lot of time, the email does not, all those attachments do not get into your environment. They are held in a safe environment. I think when I was trying to do a message trace for you earlier, I think one of the things that I saw here was getting status. And if you look at the event, if you look at the event, you see here that it says that the message was successfully delivered to this folder, default folder, quarantined email secured, right? This folder is not on your mailbox. This folder is somewhere on the mail system that your users cannot access, basically. So it doesn't get to your endpoint. I saw it as an admin because I came to the back end to actually look for what is happening. Your regular users does not have access to this. And of course, if I want to release this email, I can as well. But it does not get to the view of your user. So in answering your questions, yes, the email does not get into your environment. Your users cannot interact with it, but it's still within the control of your organizations, but held at the edge, at the security edge of your organization, not necessarily within your email system or where your users can interact with it.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.